Hi, welcome to episode 280 of your Friday podcast. A couple of things, a podcast about things. Today's thing is going to be a UX research thing, which is about ethical considerations in conducting UX research. There are only 85 days left in the year. Remember, it's a leap year, so we have 365 days, and I started this on the 2nd. So today's actually the 281st day of the year. Number facts will come at the end of the episode. And yeah, let's get into today's topic. So a couple of episodes back, I talked about things to consider when you're conducting UX research that we don't really often talk about. So things like dealing with trauma, mental exhaustion, and so on and so forth. So today I want to talk about some things more on the participant side, things to consider, and basically the ethics of conducting research with people. If you are a person in UX or UX research who has a background in the social sciences, you will be familiar with the concept of review boards that look into research plans to determine whether it's safe and that you're putting in enough effort to ensure that there's no harm that comes to participants, and basically to also justify the research you're doing and the methods you're going to use in conducting the research, like your plan, your goals, and all those kinds of things. And also you would have also gone through training about what is considered proper research practice, best practices, ethical practices when conducting research with people. This is a standard thing in, I dare say, all the social sciences. I'm only familiar with psychology, but I would like to believe that this applies to other social sciences as well, and basically any kind of academic research situation where you're doing research with people. So even in medical research and the quote unquote natural sciences, I don't know, but anyway, so yeah, the point is that if you have this background, you probably already know some of what I'm going to talk about already. But if you don't, and which many people who come into tech to work in UX product roles and other kinds of roles where they're conducting some kind of research with users, with people, may not have this knowledge or experience. And so I've noticed this a lot over the past 8 years of doing research and teaching people research and working with people who are trying to become better researchers, is that many people don't actually know these things about the ethics, that there are actual ethics to consider when conducting research with people. And although UX research practices may not follow such a strict and rigorous academic research review process, it's still very important to keep in mind that you are dealing with people. And like I talked about in the episode where I talked about trauma and mental exhaustion, there are things that come up that you may not be equipped to deal with if you don't think through these things and go through the proper training on how to handle them. So I've talked a bit, so let me just talk about some of the things to think about, and these are, again, table stakes when it comes to conducting research with people. Number one is informed consent. I've seen situations where people just start recording interviews that they're having with an end user, a customer, a participant, whatever you want to call it. They just start recording, whether audio recording or video recording, which you should not be doing. And it's not just when you do informed consent, it's not just about saying that, oh, we're going to record this session. You actually have to it's not like you're saying it and informing them to let them know that this is going to happen. Informed consent is you are asking for permission to record. It's not just, oh, we're going to be recording this session, I hope it's okay with you. No, it's like you have to ask in a way that doesn't make them feel like they are forced to say yes to it being recorded, whether video or audio. And people should also be able to choose. So if you're going to do video recording, you should also give people option to say that, okay, if you don't want to record your video but you're fine with audio being recorded, then that's also fine. Or if you can only record your screen but not record what you say, no audio recording, people need to be able to give consent at such granular levels. That way they're more comfortable. It's also about explaining what you're going to be doing, like what the research is about, what it requires from them, methods, how their data will be used, especially when you are doing recordings. You need to explain to people that this audio recording will only be used in our analysis, if that is what it will be used for. And if you say that, you should not use it for anything else, which I'll come to later. So like, you need to be very clear about what exactly you're collecting, how it will be used, and you shouldn't mislead the participants in how it will be used. If you need to use the data for something that was not already consented to, you have to go back to contact those people to ask for permission to use their data in whatever way that you need to use it now that you may not have thought of before and have not gotten consent for. So the first thing, get informed consent. The second thing is that you need to minimize risk of harm. Again, in the context of building tech products, many people don't often think about the possible things that could go wrong, because it's like, oh, we're just talking about like financial services using the app or whatever. But when you're talking to people, people can go to places that you did not even think about. Like, they can go to places that you do not you will not even expect. People can be talking about financial abuse, trauma, these kinds of things. So you have to ensure that you're thinking about how the kinds of questions you're asking and all these things could be, in any way bringing harm to the participants, which is not always physical, because there's also physical harm that you need to think about. So if you need people to actually do something, maybe work with a prototype that is not an app, not just like a software, but like a hardware thing, you need to think about how to make sure that this is not going to cause them any kind of physical harm. And also, it could be psychological discomfort, it could be invading their privacy, it could be things like that. And so when it's unavoidable, if you've looked and you realize, okay, there's no way for us to actually avoid this 100%, you need to have very clear, strong justifications for why you have to do this research in this particular way, even though it might cause harm to people. And then you also have to, again, give very detailed information to the participants to get their consent, and then also debrief with them afterwards to go through. Again, you need to be trained to do this. You can't just do this. Then the third thing is you need to ensure that people know that they can withdraw from the research, which is basically known as the right to withdraw. So people should never feel like, oh, I have to sit through this research session even though I'm not feeling comfortable, I don't want to talk anymore. Participants should always feel like they are able to leave at any point, they're able to stop the session at any point, they're able to end the session at any point without giving a reason. They don't have to give a reason. You have to have set the stage such that they're able to say, okay, I don't want to continue this anymore, without giving any reason, and you have to be okay with that. So for example, if you're giving incentives, maybe you're giving a gift card, you're giving cash, don't give the impression that they must complete the whole 1 hour, 3 months, whatever study that you're doing for them to get their incentive, right? So you need to give the right to withdraw, and you need to make it very clear. And then I already touched on this a bit, but it's about confidentiality and privacy. Participant data should be protected and kept confidential. You need to ensure that only people who need access to this information have it. And which also goes back to, you need to be sure that you're collecting what is necessary. So for example, the people need to know that the participant's full name and their age and where they live and all of these things when you're sharing your insights. You need to know how you'll be using all of these things before you even start doing the research, before you even start asking people for things. And when you're analyzing, when you're sharing reports, you have to ensure that you're only sharing what the participant has given their consent to be shared. So for example, if a participant says, no, you can make this recording, but do not share it, you can't share it with anybody, even if it's just one person on your team. You cannot do that. Don't do that. It is wrong. It's a betrayal of trust, privacy, confidentiality, everything. Do not do that. It is unethical. If people say, if you say that, oh, we're only going to use this recording for our report, but then you use it on your website for marketing because the person said nice things about your product, that is wrong. Don't do it. Okay? And then a final thing I want to talk about in ethical considerations is falsifying data. Now, this is not necessarily related to like the participant, but just in general, please do not falsify data. If you don't have the data, say you don't have the data. If it's not like, if it's not matching what your assumption was, don't fake it to make it look like it matches your assumption. Just report exactly what you have collected, right? Don't try to, maybe participants rated something as difficult to use. Most, maybe let's say on a scale of 0 to 5, your average difficulty rating or ease of use rating was like 3.5. Don't tweak the data to make it a 4 or a 5. Don't do that. Do not falsify data. Do not make up quotes that people do not say. Do not increase the rating here and there. Do not like fake. Don't, please, just don't do it. I don't know what other examples to give, but just do not do it. Okay, come. So in summary, there are ethical considerations. You can't just go and do research with people. You need to think about certain things. You need to be careful about getting informed content, being very detailed about what you expect, what you want to do. You also have to ensure that you're minimizing the risk of harm. You also have to ensure that you are making sure that people know that they can stop at any point in the research process, that they can withdraw. Then you also have to ensure confidentiality and privacy. And finally, do not falsify data. Okay, number facts. Number 85 is an octahedral number, a centered triangular number, a centered square number, a decagonal number, and a Smith number. It is also the product of two prime numbers, 5 and 17, and is therefore a biprime, specifically the 24th biprime, not counting perfect squares. And for fun things that happened on this day in history, on this day, October 7th, in 1912, the Helsinki Stock Exchange saw its first transaction. On this day in 1960, Nigeria joined the United Nations, and on this day in 1971, Oman joined the United Nations. And fun Netherlands fact, on this day in 1840, Willem II became the king of the Netherlands. And that's it for today. Thank you for listening. Bye. Oh, also, I've written about what I talked about on today's episode, and I will put the link to the article in the show notes. But for real, bye. I still need questions. I still need suggestions of who to talk to. I still need people who want to come on to talk about something to fill the form. So please do that. Thank you very much. And yeah, do like, share, subscribe if you found it interesting, insightful, and all the nice things. Bye.